All present and accounted for. And here we are at the Bite Me podcast. This is it. This is where you want to come every week and listen to these knuckleheads that are in front of me. Captain Dean Thomas, Captain Scott Nolan, Captain Caleb McCumber. We always have a good time. And today, not only are we going to have that, got a couple of big announcements for you coming up real quick. We'll get the particulars out of the way. I'm John Lopez, and this is the Bite Me podcast, where you can subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts. Always start out with Podbean. Highly recommend that. You can get all the podcasts that we've ever done on there. And, of course, YouTube Live every Tuesday. If you are in with us live right now, you'll be able to get instant feedback. But, of course, we will post the podcast around 6-ish tonight, every Tuesday as well. All right, man, we got a lot to cover. You guys, first of all, I did go fishing for about 3 days over the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and it was a bit of a grind, but we're going to get into some of that. What have you guys been doing? Scott, you're shooting some photos. Caleb, you got some Angler U. Dean, you've been out and about. Has it been pretty much what you've been hearing as well? Just kind of a tough go lately?
Yeah. If you like wind, it's a great day for sailing.
And Scott, what are you hearing?
Yeah, pretty much the same thing, man. If you can have your spots lined out where you're away from the wind a little bit, you can do pretty good. Fishing in the wind is just
where is that spot?
Yeah,
I've been looking for it.
Find that spot.
Dean talks about all the time that we have to fish in the wind or we won't fish.
Mm-hmm.
But
actually, I mean, we had it's been rough. 5 days. It's been the wind has been.
There comes a point when it is too much. I mean, yes, we can all fish in the wind, but there's a point where it's just it becomes too much.
We stuck it out on a couple of days that were very challenging. And the one thing, and I've said before, with the super high tide, it does help. It lets you get to areas that are almost doable, but the bite is tough. I mean, it's been a tough week. We're like new moon, or it was like the third quarter. We're coming up on the full moon, and when it's a tough bite and it's windy like that, and you can't see what's going on in the water, I mean, it's a challenge. But things are always going to get better. It looks like the wind's calming down tomorrow, even though we got a chance of rain. I'd rather get rained on than get 30-mile-an-hour winded on.
Hadn't thought about that, but I may well be in the same boat. Go ahead.
Yeah, just take both of them, Dean. That's what I'm doing.
That's right. You got them both.
That's a tropical storm.
Yeah. All right. So we got a lot to cover, a lot of good topics, many from the listeners, but let's not bury the lead here with, I mentioned it on the Bite Me group page. Couple of big announcements here for Bite Me listeners. We've already had some inquiries about the Bite Me feeding frenzy. It is officially official. You can set your calendar June, July, August, in about 3.5 months. And there's a reason we do that big lead up. Got to get a lot of things in line and a lot of things taken care of so we can do it as we always do. And this year we're hoping to do it bigger. The Bite Me podcast feeding frenzy is going to be September 20th. September 20th, that's a Saturday. It's going to be at Coasters, where it was last year, and it's going to be 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. So if you are one of the listeners right here on the podcast or on the YouTube live stream, I would highly recommend starting to look at places down there. There's a couple of good sources of information that are telling me we might even have a block of rooms at a local hotel. So we will update you on that. And the other thing that I want to emphasize here before we get to our other announcement is we are planning on making it, always a little bigger, always a little better. Last year is going to be hard to top, but I'm confident that we can do it. It's going to be, we had like 500 people last year. We actually raffled off a boat, a 19-foot Freedom Patriot boat. Stay tuned on that in the next couple of weeks. We might have an update on what could be raffled this year. There's going to be the raffle. There's going to be silent auction, a live auction. There's going to be obviously a casting contest, and this is where the boys come in. Not distance this year. It ain't going to be distance. Accuracy. It's going to be an accuracy casting contest, and it's going to be 2 shots from 20 yards away, 2 shots from 40 yards away, and if you dare to do it, 2 shots from 50 yards away. 20, 40, and 50. I didn't want to do 60 because that's a pretty good hike. So 20, 40, and 50 yards, 2 shots each. And the whole idea is we're going to hit that yellow bucket. We're going to get one of the yellow buckets that we used last year. I can see you guys are already thinking about this, what you're going to do. Yeah, so whoever.
We're wondering if you mean feet instead of yards.
I think I mean yards.
Because I'm pretty sure I kicked their ass last year in the distance, and I probably cast it 55 yards.
Yeah, I might have to shorten that to 10 yards.
A long ways, dog.
10, well, that's why I said 50 instead of 6.
Yeah.
Let's do 10. Let's do 10, 20, and 30. 10, 20, and 30 yards. Okay. And it's going to be that yellow bucket that we used last year. And you're going to have to you can use whatever, same as always. You're going to use whatever you want, rod, reel, whatever. And 10, 20, you get 2 shots apiece. Who's winning?
So is the bucket going to be open?
Huh?
Is the bucket lid thing going to be open?
Oh, that's cocky. That's cocky right there.
You get extra points for going in it.
You know what? This is why we have to talk these things through. I am going to open it. I think that would be great.
Dean's going to show up with some reel from some country we've never heard of that has crosshairs on it.
10, 20, and 30 yards. I'm glad we talked that through because that was a bit much. And I'm going to go ahead and open it. And if it goes in, that you get extra points. Whoever hits the most wins. Caleb was the victor last year at the distance. This is going to be accuracy this year. They still think you cheated.
You won under false pretenses, of course. Yeah. There's no sense in beating that one up.
That victory was too big to rig, buddy.
And as always, last year, we're going to take care of our Bite Me listeners. We're going to do a 50-50 pool on that. I think last year the winner got $500 and something, I believe, something along those lines. And the main thing that this is the whole reason that I had this crazy idea a couple of years ago, 3 years ago now, of doing the podcast is for 2 reasons. A thank you to our great listeners who we can't say enough about. They ask questions. They become great friends. They show up at all our events. They have our backs. We have their backs. So it's going to be a thank you. So once again, and stay tuned for this. This will happen in the next couple of weeks as well. Everything is getting lined up. The first 200 people who register online on the Bite Me podcast, we got your meal. We're paying for your meal. It was fantastic last year. I believe we're probably going to go with the same place, the Butter Churn in Aransas Pass, because everybody loved the meal so much. First 200, it's on us. After that, it'll be show up $15, and of course we'll take care of you on that. There's going to be clearly a cash bar. The other reason we wanted to do this is for great organizations that are near and dear to everybody here. Heroes on the Water, you've heard us talking about that, and Texas Boys Outdoors. Last year, believe it or not, we ended up raising more than $50,000 for those 2 charities to split. The goal this year is to get above $50,000. That's a big ask, especially if we if we don't have a boat to raffle, but we will. I'm efforting. We are efforting. We will have some information on that if we do have that this year. So first 200, the meal's on us. Great event, great things to do, live and silent auction, and anything else. Anything to add, boys?
What just went across Dean's screen?
That was like a wasp. I saw
a bee in your room.
Yeah, there was a wasp that went across.
It's a fly.
It's a fly.
I was resisting the urge to slap it while it's sitting here on the thing, but I don't know. We'll see if I can last the whole hour before I break something trying to kill it.
I got my wife one of those water guns that kill the flies that you shoot them out of the air. Those things are badass.
Like it's sitting right.
There he goes. He is a fly fisherman. He is a fly.
I saw his
Literally.
little fly crack.
I did
I don't
too.
know.
I'm gonna
I
have
don't
to
know if I-
isolate that. I'm gonna have to isolate.
It was a boy fly.
I don't know if I got it or not.
All right. So somebody said it was a vulture on the live feed. Food and
when it came across that
it
camera.
did. It did. Any door prizes? Yes, we're gonna have door prizes. Of course we are. The live auction is there's going to be some fantastic events there. Also on the raffle, it's not just the boat that you win. I think we had 3 other items last year, all valued at over like $1,200 a piece. So the raffle tickets are going to be there. We'll have door prizes, all that good stuff, and of course, yeah. Somebody said don't ruin the lotto ticket, Dean. And he's got a lotto ticket. He get that fly with.
$200 winner.
Oh wow! And you're hitting flies with it. So that's announcement number 1, September 20th, 3 to 7 p.m. We'll have more details. We'll have the sign up. We'll have everything else. Any thoughts, things to add, questions from my or fishermen here or captains here?
You think enough for everybody.
That's
So
right.
I don't see what we could possibly add to influence your thought process.
We weren't really listening because we were sidetracked by a fly.
Yeah.
and we're also working on the block of rooms. All right, here's the other announcement, and this is another big one. We had a lot of fun with this last year. May 20th, is that a Tuesday? Who's got your calendar up? Whatever the next Tuesday after next is. I believe it's May 20th. Somebody help me out here. We are going to once again have a live release of at least one. That's a hint. At least one tagged redfish here on the podcast, live on YouTube, and of course I'll post the video as well. May 20th is the Tuesday, according to Jay. We're gonna have live like we did last year, and it was cool, man. It was like I think Scott might have figured it out, maybe Dean. You can see they don't hide it. I mean, Ryan Towns over at the CCA, the startournament.org. We're going to have him live. I'm going to enlarge the screen so you can see it real clearly. And we're going to have at least one tagged redfish for the CCA Texas Star Tournament. You can go to startournament.org if you want to register, by the way, right here. And I usually just tell him, don't tell me where it is because I enter as well. Although he did end up telling me where that particular one was released last year. But I didn't fit there. Don't tell me. I want to catch it.
Don't
legit.
tell me, but he told me.
But he told me that one. He told me that one. But I didn't fish there anyway. So how cool is that, man? Bite Me listeners, you get not just the feeding frenzy, you get a little insight, man. If you're a good sleuth, if you're a good detective, you might be able to even figure out where that tagged redfish was.
You ain't going to pass a polygraph if you win.
Well, yes, I will. Absolutely, I will.
Oh, not if they tell you where they released them.
No, there's just 1 or 2. Those 2. Yeah, I'll tell.
Do you have any information where the redfish were released?
Yes, 2 of them. Yes, 2. 1 or 2 of them. Hey, I'm gonna have Ryan in that room with me. Am I right? I didn't know where these were released.
When they send you up for polygraph, none of your buddies are there. They just send you in the cave with some dude that stares at you funny.
You're on your own.
There's nothing comfortable about being in that room, bud.
So that's really cool. I'm going to catch it this year. And of course, like I said, you can register at startournament.org. These texts, these messages coming in on the live stream are pretty funny. Are there going to be shootouts available at the Feeding Frenzy? Absolutely. How many bottles of OG sauce did you sell last year? I think we went through about 10 cases on that. So we'll have some more OG sauce there. Can you truthfully say I told him not to tell me at least? No, I don't think I can. But here we are. That's one of the great things I love about the podcast. We all stay involved, and we get good stuff for our listeners. So even if you're
Didn't you cook a brisket for somebody? how did that brisket thing work last year?
I threw that in, I think, with one of the stays at Rockport, at a condo or house or something. I said, "Hey man, I'm gonna cook you guys a brisket." Oh no, it might have been with Justin Livingston.
Just when we went fishing, it was with Justin and Delaney.
Yeah.
And all them.
Yeah, and so I might do that again this year. Cook a brisket and throw that into the kitty on some of that. So
You know what's fun? If anybody that listens to this show on the 20th also is going to have a fun time passing the poly if they catch a redfish. This is going to be great.
And especially if they catch that redfish.
Oh,
And I want to say Ryan told us it was caught like a mile and a half away from where they released it. So
hey, so I'm selling sight casting trips.
Okay, where?
To be determined. I'll let y'all know on the 20th. They're $1,200 a day, and we'll cover about a mile and a half of shoreline with each trip.
$1,200 a day might get you a truck and a boat and a trailer. Hey. That's about $100,000 worth. I like the sound of that. Scott, you figured it out last year, didn't you? Didn't you kind of have a good idea where they released it?
Yeah, I had a little help.
Oh, you did?
I was kind of sure. I kind of knew where it was, but I confirmed it with somebody.
And I did not, but like I said, that one he had told me. Another message here for those of us who cannot make the feeding frenzy. Can there be some way to contribute / participate? Absolutely. That's part of it. One of the things that a lot of people did last year is say, hey, I can't go. I live in New Jersey. That's one in particular that I remember, someone who lived in New Jersey. I want to buy 4 tickets. Can you give those to someone? So you can do stuff like that. You can make a donation to Heroes on the Water or Texas Boys Outdoors. So a lot more information to come, but mark the date, September 20th, and have a good week and go fishing. You can book a trip.
I'm trying to help this question out, but it won't let me post it in the comments about the contributing and participating. PayPal at Cap Caleb TV is a great way to contribute and participate.
That is not true. That is 100%
I don't
false
know
information.
With the comments section, I just put it in my PayPal and it's like, no.
Whatever Caleb just said, don't believe it. If you just believe me when I tell you what's going on these things. But it's cool, man. It's cool. We had over 500. I'm gonna shoot for 600 this year. See if we can get 600 people out there. But all right, so let's get to the podcast and help our fine friends. Unless anybody else has anything to add on the live tag release or the feeding frenzy. We good?
When my lure goes in the bucket, do I get piece of it?
When you're what?
When my lure goes in the bucket, do I get piece of that 50-50?
No.
What if I can put it in the bucket and not backlash?
Now you can have a side bet with Scott and Dean.
Oh,
we can do what they call it, Calcuttas. No, half of it goes to the charities and half goes to the lucky winner. What were you going to say, Dean?
I'll say we're going to need more chairs this year.
Yeah, we're definitely going to need more chairs. By the way, anybody who wants to help sponsor this, just hit me up via direct message, and we will could definitely use the help. It worked out great last year. It was fantastic. All right, so first topic is kind of an offshoot of last week. Got a little lively around here, which was fun, and it made for a bunch of downloads. I meant to tell you guys, it was like, I want to say the first day was 3,800 downloads or something like that. And we usually end up with about 30,000 a month. And the first day on one podcast was 3,800. So Caleb, thank you. Yeah, that helps. It got people talking.
That's my bad.
No, it was good.
Just don't call on me for things like that.
All right, so I'm going to Caleb first on this one. And the topic is, we good? We good? Everybody good? Any updates or anything to add after last week's episode? Any feedback? And by feedback, I mean anybody give you any information that could help you?
No, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's a done deal. I would say the main topic of the entire whatever short rant I went on, I don't remember a whole hell of a lot about what I said, but the whole thing was basically, hey, let's just all do our own thing. And I mean, hell, I'm down for supporting people. Just do our own thing, be cool, and move on about your day. And so far this last week, that's the route that's been taken as far as I know, and I'm good with it.
Oh, I thought you had something, Dean.
No, Dean's going to behave because the whole thing was
He's thinking.
no
He's
reason
thinking.
to disparage other people. So Dean is going to behave himself, right, Dean?
And what's even more interesting is that Caleb is encouraging someone to take the high road.
I mean, it's a great. I mean, I'm not always the best at taking it, but damn it, I try.
Yeah, you probably give advice on it more than actually taking it.
Well, see, you some bitches get us rolling down a road and then say, "Now what, Caleb?" I'm like, well, all right, but the point is, everybody's gonna be cool and do their thing, and that's nice.
like Pulp Fiction. Tell that bitch to be cool.
Yeah.
And and if you
Basically,
do,
last week, John basically like pushed the cart down the hill and then took the steering wheel away.
Like, I knew the topic was coming, and I figured y'all were gonna do y'all's thing, and I was like, I'm gonna be as professional as possible and just like weigh in here and there. And then he's like, Caleb, go. I was like, all right, well, and then it happened. But again, like I want to see everybody do well in this business.
In all seriousness, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, the better that everybody does, the better it is as an industry. It's that simple. There's no reason to disparage. I mean, even though I'll bring up the fact that I've kicked their ass in the casting contest, I'm saying it in good humor.
That was distance, not accuracy. Hey,
and
seriously though,
the thing about being, in the business of fishing and such as that, if you do your own thing and you stay in your lane, more power to you. But when you start crossing out of that and you become fraudulent and you become, when you get labeled a faker, when you become a fake ass program, like tagging off of other people and then making that your program, then we're going to talk about you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not even going to go to the extreme of anything's fake. It's just don't try to accuse other people of being fake to highlight what you're doing. Is that simple?
Well, it's fake whenever you are taking something from other people and calling it your own.
Yeah, I suppose. But we did cover all that last week. I just wanted to make sure everybody was good on everything. And it seems like we are. I do have a topic here that was also an offshoot of last week. But before we get that, I'm looking at all three of you guys, and I'm trying to determine which one of these guys is going to be most honest about how they feel the accuracy casting contest will go. And frankly, I can't come up with an answer. But also, I'll just start with Scott, because I don't know if any of you guys are going to be really honest. So accuracy, Scott, the reason I'm starting with you fished a ton with both these cats. And I'm not participating. I'm not the pro. How do you think the accuracy contest is going to go? Who has impressed you, or do you impress more than they do?
I mean, Caleb's going to figure out some way to cheat. We know that going in. I mean, hell, he was trying to put extra weights in his.
What was Dean just saying about being fake, Scott? And take your whooping and move on.
And Dean got some hot rod reel that nobody can get their hands on. And then Caleb
he went to Japan to get it.
And then Caleb went so far as to cut his line down inside of his reel. So I mean, there's no telling how this thing will go.
You guys were so protective of your gear. It
all
was
the backdoor shenanigans that went on last year.
Obviously, I was not protective enough.
I didn't know you had
a security camera on your rod and reel.
You cut my string. What are we going to be throwing? What's the lure?
Well, let's talk about it. Accuracy. What's the best lure to throw? Like a lead head, a jig head, or
just get like a quarter-ounce plastic plug that you can cast in the grass and it don't hang
like a Spook Junior with no hooks on it.
Or how about we go with the DOA, the PT7,
or a Spook with extra hooks on it.
What does that accomplish?
I'm running treble hooks on my Spook, Dean. I don't care what you say.
I'm writing down tentatively PT7. That's what we threw last year.
I would just get one like these little black plugs. Like it's heavy. I mean, if y'all want to play wind, I'll play wind. I'll Tiger Woods your ass in the wind.
But I want it to be accurate to like what you would do on the water. And plus, Mark Nichols is a great friend of the podcast. He's got great lures. We can get them relatively easily, and you can embed the hook so nobody gets killed out there. Remember, we had kids out there marking stuff. I don't want any children with their eyes scratched out or anything.
I had some grandma at the hospital on the other side of town.
You did over the fence.
Over the fence on the road.
Yeah, over the fence on the road.
Out of bounds, like a left-hand curve.
And here we go.
I'm not the one that said let's cast this way. I didn't do it. I just casted that way.
So Scott, you didn't answer. Accuracy, PT7, 10, 20, and 30 yards.
I can do pretty well with that.
Weren't there 2 buckets out there last time that had to go between these buckets?
No, it was just distance, and they marked your distance with the bucket. This time you're going to have to hit the bucket.
If the wind would have been blowing the other way, Caleb would have turned around and thrown the other way and measured it.
But it wasn't, was it? It wasn't, was it? I sense nervousness and fear. I smell it. I can smell it.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
It stinks, Dean. It stinks.
No, I think you're smelling whatever that was you had in your hand there just a minute ago.
It's a dead fly. It's the rigor mortis.
There's flies being attracted to Dean's stench of fear and doubt.
All right. So apparently we didn't. Either one of you guys have a fair, objective opinion on the accuracy.
How big is the bucket?
It's the bait bucket.
Little yellow bait buckets.
Yeah, those little yellow bait buckets.
With the little trap door?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and if you get it in the door, we're gonna leave that open. That's extra points.
If we make it in the door, John's gonna personally match the 50-50.
What?
Yeah.
Once again, just for clarity's sake, believe nothing Caleb
You
said.
have no idea how much I'll practice. That would actually make me in the yard casting that bucket.
Once again, don't believe a damn thing that Caleb says about the feeding frenzy.
Yeah. I think I still got my bucket around here somewhere. I could start practicing.
Yeah, there you go.
In reality, what you got to do is throw a hula hoop with the bucket in the middle. If you hit the bucket, that's something, and then the hula hoop, I don't know. Are you gonna have somebody like measuring off?
So yeah, are you gonna tape measure this thing? What's the?
No, it's going to be just hit it, and then if it's tied after 30 yards, we'll move it back a couple of yards.
That's it, guys. Just hit it. Just hit it.
Yeah, just hit it. All you got to do is hit it.
You got to hit a bait bucket at 30 yards.
Listen, John, yes. I know we're good, but damn.
It's called a contest.
Now who's
how good are you?
Fear.
Yeah, you got some dead flies over there, Caleb.
Hey, I'll be closest to the bucket, but hitting is a different story.
Well, closest is gonna count once we get to 30 yards.
Well, then we're gonna measure, right? That's how we're gonna
mark it. We're just gonna mark it. There's a PT7 right there.
I still got it. The one I threw last year.
Dean's gonna be practicing as soon as we finish this podcast.
I'm gonna tie it on before it's over.
Yeah. All right. So Dean, we talked about this last week, and it turned into a topic that just kind of landed in our laps, so to speak. Scott mentioned one of the things that I've mentioned to all you guys, and why people appreciate your knowledge. He mentioned that I've always said you don't know what you know. Like there's things that are second nature to you, and I think there's some good stories that can come up here as well from you guys. That you just automatically do that other people wouldn't even consider. So I'll set it up, Dean, and then I'll throw it to you first. So we're fishing, having a hard time, as we've already established today, and trying to find another place. You're in my boat. I'm letting you captain because I know it would drive you nuts if you didn't. And we're driving along, and I turned to my right. I said, "That's really good water right there," and we just keep going. Look at a couple places, never stop the boat, and you go, "Let's go to that blue water. Let's go to that clear water." And as we went there, I'm telling you, this is not an exaggeration because I got a good look at it. Dean's first cast, at least, probably I'm shortchanging it, at least a 25-inch trout just blew up out of the water, hit that thing, came back, but never took it. Dean's next cast, boom, about 21, 22-inch trout.
Yeah.
And then a couple of casts later, you caught another one. I don't know if I caught one there, but I certainly had a couple of blow-ups. And as we're catching these fish and it's hot and heavy, I look at him, I said, that's what Scott was talking about. Like, we just happened to say, what about that spot right there? And we had never fished there before.
And I don't know, I don't know if the proper title for this topic is "You Don't Know What You Know" as much as blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. Because we ran, the water was trashed, man. I mean, we get spoiled around here. We fish in crystal clear, see everything most days. So we ran, and we were breaking in John's boat. We were giving John's new boat some exercise. So we were exploring a little bit, running around, and we were running everywhere in just dirty brown, the chocolatest that redfish bait ever gets. So we're cruising across the flats, and we're making a long run back from where we were. And we come across this patch of green water, man. It was beautiful. I mean, all of a sudden you're like, whoa, there's the bottom. That's nice. And I had a plan for where we were heading to. And so I just kept on going. I kind of nonchalantly passed over the only beautiful water that we had seen all day long.
It was the only spot.
And so we keep going and going, and I'm running, and it just gets worse and worse. And I was like, I do not want to fish here, man. I just don't want. So I said, let's go back to where we were, to where we saw that water.
You know, where the good water was.
Did a big U-turn. And it was funny because it was like Saturday, even with the bad conditions, there were a lot of boats on the water. And so I was being as polite as possible and kind of zigging through everybody, giving everybody as much space. And then I go around and I do a big ass U-turn, and I ran right back through all of those boats. And I know those that were like, man, what is wrong with this guy? What is he doing out here? And and we stopped. It was the one spot that had like just beautiful green water. And it wasn't going to stay that way because the tide was mixing it up. The wind was mixing it up. I mean, it was going to be as brown as the rest of it before the end of the day. And yeah, man. So first cast, beautiful fish. Even though I didn't hook that thing, it was amazing to watch it go airborne out of the water. And then caught a couple more. And then we drifted it. The second time, got a couple hits. Third time, nothing.
Dead. Just like that. So
we caught them all.
Yeah, we caught them all.
Except for that one.
The big one. It was a monster trout. But so this is where, you know, we can kind of do a little solid for our listeners, as I like to do. You know, some of the things you know, and you say blind squirrel, but it was really a subconscious. We're driving, going pretty at a good clip, and we go, hey, and then come back to it. You know, some examples, Scott, where, you know, you maybe say, hey, what about here? And you may not even consciously know, you know, some examples of where, you know, it worked, it happened. You may not even consciously know why you stopped there, but something in your mind told you to stop there. You know, what comes to mind for you?
I do it all the time where I've got a place in mind, and then as I'm going over there, just something tells me hey, need to check this spot first. Yeah, and pull up in here. And almost every time that you do something like that, it pays off. And I really don't know what it is. I think it's just years and years and years of being on the water day after day that you see something and you really don't even realize you saw what's leading you to make that stop. Sometimes it is, you know, sometimes you do. I mean, you realize that there's a whole bunch of birds just hanging out in that area. You know, they're
not doing anything. Yeah.
They're not doing anything, but there's a whole bunch of birds just kind of hanging back in the trees a little bit. And it kind of leads you to think, okay, well, something was happening here recently. So I might as well, you know, give it a shot. Doesn't cost anything to stop and take a look around. But that seems to lead to fish more often than not. That, and then just up and changing, you know, beating yourself to death doing what you've been doing for the last 3 or 4 days, and it's been working, and it is just not happening today. And then just pick up and do a 180 and go do something you haven't done in the last 2 or 3 weeks. And that's where the fish are. I mean, it doesn't always work out like that, of course, but it seems to happen with some regularity where it kind of surprises you a little bit.
I know it can amaze your clients, especially some that are novices, Caleb, where the water all looks the same to them, and you're seeing whether it's a small streak, or you tell me, give me an example of something where you're like, okay, here, and that wasn't part of the plan, but it works.
When I think it was my first or second year in guiding, I had a boat with like 4 people in it, and I'm running just dead in the middle of East Matagorda Bay, and they were just a very different, very subtle color streak in the water, and I knew that there was some good reefs underneath it, and I just shut down, and I heard one of them say, "And this is why I can't be a damn guide. What are we doing?" And that dude ended up catching a 28-inch trout like 2 casts later. And he was one of those, is this a big one, guys?
Oh, yeah. Is this a big one? Is this good? Is this good?
Possibly the worst picture I've ever seen anybody take with a fish. But now they're just, I'm usually headed to an area more so than a spot. And I mean, that's not like a flex. It's just, I'm a back lake and marsh guy. So I'm just headed to an area in that marsh. And there's just something about the way the water looks, and the way the ripples are on it, the way the ripples aren't on it. They're just stuff that makes you go, that looks like a good spot to sit down and go check it out.
Yeah.
And like Scott said, I think it's just a second nature thing that whenever I first started fishing, I'd roll in there and, enter any old man here that I was fishing with. He'd say, "There's bait all in here." And I'm looking, I hadn't seen it. I go, "Oh yeah." I didn't see nothing. But now if a shrimp flicks, 15 yards from me or whatever, it's almost like I can hear it.
Mm-hmm.
And just something.
But can you cast to it?
Oh, there we go. It's starting.
If he's in a yellow bucket.
What you just said, though, that happens a lot. And I want to say this happened very recently. I'm talking with someone on the boat, just whatever, you're casting, drifting, whatever it is. And there's something out of the corner of your eye, or you hear, Dean, and in the middle of the conversation, I just turn and cast, and caught a fish. And they're like, what made you do that?
And one thing you do get kind of tuned into is, you hear mullet, you hear things jumping and splashing, but you'll hear a trout or a blow up that sounds different than a mullet splash, and that'll always get my attention. Or you see swirls, you see mullet, you see swirls and things that are pushing around in the water, and then you see one that just looks a little bit different. It's just a heavier push. It's just a little bit different than your average mullet. And when you stare at the water for 25 or 30 years, you start to catch on to those things.
Mm-hmm. And it's Scott,
25 30 of them, though.
You got to put in the legwork, though. You got
the other thing,
I'm realizing that there's dirty water everywhere, and this is the only clean spot. So maybe you should stop here.
Genius. That's the kind of stuff they don't teach you in school.
But I'm sure if there was a video on me, we're driving, and I'm not blaming Dean because he was focused on going to the next spot, but I kind of went like right there.
I had that exact experience with Charlie Paradosky like last month or whatever. We drove through like the smelliest smell of trout that we've ever, and we just rolled through it like 35. And I'm like, and we made it about another 100 yards. I couldn't take it anymore. I was like, "You don't want to fish that?" And without all I said was, "You don't want to fish that." And he looks at me and said, "You smell them?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Since COVID, I haven't been able to smell a damn thing. Where was it at?" It's like he knew. This wasn't the first time somebody said, "Dude, you don't smell that?" And we turned around and caught probably 5, 10, 12, 5-pounder, just boom, 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 boom. But I was sitting there like, listen, this guy is an absolute legend. Yeah. And I really don't feel like it is my place to say anything, but I just couldn't take it. Finally, I was like,
well, especially like, I never, even if it's not a captain like you guys, you just try to tell the guy driving the boat, "Hey, how about here?" Because nobody wants to hear that, right? But I just kind of, especially Dean, I just kind of said, "Oh, that's pretty good water right there."
If my customer says, "How about here?" I'm all about it. So I'm like, "Oh hell yeah! If this sucks, it's going to be your fault. We're stopping."
And Dean probably said, "Shut up, shut up."
I was more concerned with giving your boat some exercise, man.
Yeah, well,
Just,
you did, and it got some, so that's good. But Scott, to what Caleb said, just real quick, wrapping this up because it made me think. Even seeing fish, a lot of people can't see fish. You know, when I went out with Jan, whatever day it was, we went to South Bay over there, and I said, "Oh, there's a redfish," and she's like, "Where?" "Oh, there's another one." I saw 2 redfish back to back, and just stopped right there. And she says, "Are you making that up?" I was like, "No, I'm not making anything up."
I get that all the time because I'm calling out what kind of fish it is. Pulling across a flat. You know, there goes sheep's head.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking around. There's a redfish. They're looking around. I get it all the time with the guys on the bow of the boat, but I'm also up top on the polling platform, so it helps a little bit too.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm talking about there's times when there's fish directly in front of the boat, 15, 20 feet, and they don't see them. And that I've had people ask me, what's the method for being able to see fish? Is you have to look through the water. And so many people look at the surface of the water and they don't consciously look through the water to see the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
What happened to that video where I correctly measured that fish to the
that's coming.
inch?
That's coming. It's probably tomorrow or Thursday. I'm going to post. I like to stagger them. I posted one video today
Yes.
of a Minn
I
Kota.
called that fish,
dude,
correctly.
This is a great story.
To the shit.
Yeah.
I nailed it on the button to the 1/4 inch.
So remember that video I posted where I had a pretty good redfish on, and I told Dean, and he was taking the video that day. I said, "Oh, that's upper slot. I bet you that's 27.5." And he gave me a hard time. We brought it in. I think it was 27 3/4 or something like that.
I don't think it was that close.
It was. You can look at the video, but I will give you credit because I was off by 1/4 inch. Dean nailed it, like nailed it without even seeing the fish. You know, before as you hook it, you know, I asked him, and you'll see the video. I'll post it tomorrow or Thursday. I said, "All right, try to do what I did." And we hadn't even seen
some random number out of my butt.
He goes 20. What'd you say? 24 3/4.
24 3/4.
Yeah,
with supreme confidence.
Yes, like he knew what he was doing. And sure enough, we bring it in. Although I will say that fish started pulling a lot of drag, and he goes, "I think it grew on me."
I could not believe when we laid that thing down on the tape. It was 24 3/4.
I mean, on
to the line.
Scott will tell you that by the way they pull drag, you can usually be within about half a pound of what they weigh. Redfish anyway.
Yeah, and so that video is coming, but no, it was we made do. We made do with what we have. Man, we're getting so many texts on the casting contest. This is going to be awesome yet again. Somebody said does it count on a bounce? Hell no. The bounce is where it hits on the ground. And then Makes Fishing says, how about closer distances have smaller buckets for more increased difficulty? I don't want to buy any more than buckets.
If you want a smaller bucket, if you want to increase difficulty, I'll bring my tower down and we can stand on that.
I don't think so.
No. It would make it so much harder for me if I had to stand on the tower to do this.
Okay, well, we're not.
It's the only way these guys have a chance.
Yeah. All right, a couple questions.
We want to make it smaller than a bait bucket opening.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like a quarter.
30 yards.
Yeah, you got to hit a quarter.
See that far.
Well, anyway,
how big is a redfish's mouth when he yawns? I mean, hell, we got to throw it in there.
Yeah, exactly.
We should bring that trout off of John's wall and throw it in the mouth of that thing.
I could put my fist in that one. That was a big old trout. All right, so a couple of questions from our listeners, and this is one that's been on the docket here for at least a month, and I want to get to it. It came from a conversation we had about kayaking a while back, and so I'll just read the question, and I'll start with Dean on this one. So the few times I've been out fishing in my kayak here in Corpus, I've had some luck finding reds, but as I creep up to a spot, let's just say a shoreline island, about 50 to 70 yards before I hit it, I can see that I scare redfish, you know, the mud turns, etc. After that, I managed to catch maybe one if I'm lucky. What can I do, or do y'all have any suggestions about the way I'm approaching it? Now, keep in mind, this is a kayak. No trolling motor on his kayak. He added just the oars.
Well, I mean, first of all, are you 100% positive they're redfish?
Mhm.
Because
That
you
was
can
my
see
first thought.
they could be black drum, they could be giant mullet, they could be other things that aren't going to be aggressive. And then if you are kicking up the mud stirs, you know, you're getting too close. You know, you're chasing them out of there. And some days, whenever you kick them up from the mud stirs, if they're in a really good mood, you can still catch them. On a lot of days, once they blow up like that, they're going to be a little harder to catch. In the muddy water, upper coast, you get away with a lot more of throwing at mud stirs and then get a second shot at that fish. Down here in the crystal clear water, you never get a second shot at that fish. It's going to be, once they get spooked, they're very difficult to catch. So, I mean, but you know, to the original question,
What can you do?
know, slow down, approach that shoreline slower, you know, cast at those areas that you're heading into before you spook those fish. If it looks inviting, if it looks like some place that a fish might want to be hanging out, throw in there before you paddle into that area. You know, take a slower approach to all of those places. But man, you can be fooled by a lot of fish that aren't redfish. I mean, it's just part of the game. And then when you're creeping back in those little corner pockets and those bushes and tight up against the shorelines, I mean, you're going to spook a lot of fish that aren't redfish. I mean, a lot of black drum will trick you, and black drum aren't going to hit top waters. And I mean, on rare occasions, they will hit a soft plastic, but just, you know, slow down where you're headed in there, make casts before you spook them. But, you know, then you're blind casting into areas, but it's,
well, and Scott, you know, somebody mentioned because this was also posted on the group page, which I highly encourage people to join the group page on Facebook. Somebody said, well, get out and wade. Well, sometimes that's knee deep mud and kind of defeats the purpose of what you're trying to do in a kayak. What would you say to all this?
You're noisier wading than you are in a kayak.
This is probably true. Yeah.
And it's just, you just are. Especially in the shallow water, if it's got any kind of soft bottom to it at all, you're going to make way more noise getting out of the boat and wading. Honestly, very, very seldom when I was in kayak did I ever spook redfish. You know, I mean, short of running them over, you know, the ones that weren't showing, they weren't doing anything, and just flat running them over. Spooking them at 50 to 70 yards, that sounds like mullet, honestly. Maybe black drum, but it sounds more like just big horse mullet. And you know, they'll be mixed in with some redfish. And if you start spooking the mullet, they're gonna spook the redfish. You know, and once those mullet are freaked out about your presence, and they can sense your presence way before you get too close. And if you push them up against the shoreline, mullet will really freak out. They get that trapped feeling and they'll take off. And when they scatter any redfish that's in the area, they'll either just hunker down and won't eat for a little bit, or they'll go off and just kind of slide off with the herd of mullet that's leaving. But yeah, I'd venture to say that it's, I mean, I hate to question the guy on his fish.
Yeah.
But sitting in a kayak, it's really, really hard to tell if that's redfish or not. And mud puffs don't always mean redfish.
Right. Yeah, they have a particular look too. Speaking of things you don't know, you know. So Caleb, what about from a tower? What about from a skiff or a boat?
Well, you ever zone out on the question, but then listen to other people's answers and try to triangulate the question?
Yes.
I do it all the time.
Does anybody mention like when you set the paddle down, bonking it on the kayak?
No.
Yeah, I mean, because that Simmons that we we tournament fish out of, it's hollow like a kayak, and that
Mhm.
any lightest thing on it just makes a big bonk in the water, and that'll spook them pretty good.
Mhm.
I mean, the kayak, the tower, whatever. You just, that's why I always talk about my trolling motor. I keep it real low, especially if I'm stalking something. I've got it on 1.5, 2, maybe. Being careful not to bump bottom, that sort of
Mhm.
stuff. I feel like the distances are maybe a bit under or overestimated. I'm not real sure which way to go with that. 50 yards is a long dang ways away to scare a fish.
Mhm.
But I mean, if you're making any kind of thumping at 50, 60 feet, you can dang sure scare them. On my
Mhm.
tower, I have to be more careful because I'm silhouetting up there, so I
Yeah,
can
that's what I was getting at. Yeah.
I can absolutely run a fish off in a heartbeat. But out of a kayak, I'm not much of a kayak guy, but I would think that if you make sure you don't bonk anything, you ought to be able to slide up on things pretty stinking well.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's talk about this win,
Hey,
man. Go
but
ahead. Go ahead.
he did say he still catches one, and that's all you're going to catch anyway, dog.
That's probably true.
I mean, if he slides up there and catches one out of them, that fish is going to blow up everything else. So, hey, attaboy.
Yeah.
Don't know what we're worried about.
He did good. He
Yeah.
did good. All right, let's talk about this wind, it's just stupid. You guys, kind of referenced it earlier in the show. I mean, it's just dumb how much wind. But the question does come up that what constant winds and warmer temperatures are doing to any patterns, or is it not affecting it all? I mean, there was, like I said, I got on the water a lot this past week, 3 straight days. For me, that's a lot. And there was no rhyme or reason to anything. I mean, anything at all. Is it just, are they going to have to regroup? Caleb, I'm going to start with you on this one. You look like you're ready. And that's always a good thing. Like what the wind, I mean, just this much wind, the warmer temperatures and muddy water, like where's the rhyme or reason? Where are the patterns, or is there none?
You're not giving me the other guys to triangulate your question. We're just coming straight at it, huh?
Yeah, that was a plan.
Last time you did that, didn't go too well, John.
It went quite well. It went quite well.
What I have found lately in the marshes and the areas that I am frequenting is the wind is actually stacking the fish up on the windy side of the lake. And we were out there in miserable wind, 20, 25, maybe a little bit. Well, it was forecasted to be windy, and they added 10 miles an hour to that.
Mm-hmm.
It was blowing, and they're stacking them up on the windy sides of the lakes. Now we've got some freshwater runoff to deal with, which depending on the severity of your area. I know down in like Alvin they got like 7 inches, but it didn't seem to affect where I was at too bad. The freshwater will absolutely reset or change a pattern up, but as far as the wind, it's been pretty consistent. We had like a couple of days of a north wind, but it's been fairly like east, southeast, south, stuff like that. Nothing that actually
blowing.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, but it's blowing from the same dang direction, and I think that actually establishes patterns more than breaks them up.
So Scott, he just touched on something that was kind of an offshoot of this. And you and I have talked about this several times. You kind of create a fish highway, is what I've called it. You get the right distance from the shoreline. Maybe it's further, maybe it's closer. Does the wind and what he's talking about blowing toward a shoreline, you just got to kind of go, start here and then out and then out and then out and out until you find that fish highway? Or what are your thoughts?
I mean, they're cold-blooded creatures, right? And as the temperature warms up, there's studies on it that their metabolism doubles for every 10 degrees centigrade, 18 degrees Fahrenheit. And so we're getting into that little bit of warmer. And so their metabolism's kicking up. We're not so hot yet that the oxygen level's gone down. So that keeps them pretty riled up. So you got things working in your favor there of the temperature's rising and the fish are getting a little more frisky with that. And then they've got all that oxygen from all this wind, and that piles up on that shoreline where the wind's blowing into. And so it makes sense that that's where the bait fish are, and that's where the redfish go. Do it.
I was gonna say, with that windy side and the tide being up, I've found that my redfish are up against the grass. I don't have grass in the water here; it's on the edges, and the water's up in the grass. I've found that almost every redfish that I'm catching is less than 2 feet off of the grass. So that's establishing a pattern is sitting right there. I went all the way across the lake 3 times and caught like 1 or 2 fish, and then I got right on the grass and found little points where the water is coming around that grass, and it was fish every cast, if not every 2 casts, for solid 30, 45 minutes till it's time to go home. And then you get your guys that are seeking out the trout, and the tides are coming up, they're warming up, the trout are moving up in the grass. They're you got spawns happening if they haven't already happened. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff establishing a pattern right now rather than breaking it up.
Yeah, you just got to deal with the wind. And Scott, go ahead and finish, because that's what the first thing I thought of is what you and I have talked about, finding that fish highway. And right now, with so much wind, it's kind of closer to the shoreline, huh?
Yeah, like I said, everything is determined on temperature, water temperature, and oxygen. So if you got good oxygen from all this being riled up, and the temperatures aren't so hot, that's why we have that lull in the summers. Usually we don't have a lot of wind. We got more heat, and there's less oxygen in the water. I mean, as Dean knows, all these fish, they're obligate poikilotherms. I mean, that's what a cold-blooded animal is. And temperature determines everything in their existence.
Obligate kilotherms.
Kilotherms.
Yeah, therms.
Kilotherms.
Poikilotherms.
Obligate
poikilotherms.
Is that English?
Yeah, sort of.
That's the Latin derivative of something that doesn't make sense.
Makes perfect sense.
It took him 351 episodes to get to say that.
I'm still going to call it a fish highway. I'm still going to call it a fish highway. If it's all the same to you.
We're using the obligate poikilotherm.
Okay. Well, let me put this into English for everybody.
Dean's going to try to make English out of obligate poikilotherms. Let's hear this.
Obligate and kilotherms. Like, what is poi?
Poi, not koi. That's a fish.
Poi. Spell poi.
I'm not even going to touch the obligate thing, but the patterns stay the same, but zeroing in on that in the kind of wind that we've had makes it difficult. The wind, to a certain extent, can be a good thing because it does circulate water. It creates current. I mean, it creates stirs the water, stirs up bait, and even like during the slower periods of the day, that wind can create a little action. But then you have the challenge of getting your lure where you want it to be, kind of parking in those areas, holding that position, making those perfect casts. There's a secondary challenge that comes with the benefits that go with it. And I mean, and we've been talking about wind that's pushing 25 to 35.
Oh, we had 30 sustained for a good while.
Yeah. So that, that kind of puts it at a level that everything becomes very difficult on. What was the second part of that word, Scott?
Poikilotherms.
Spell it.
Oh, you can't see it.
Poikilotherms. Poikilotherm. I figured that was in your vocabulary, man.
Google don't even.
Matter of fact.
I mean, an obligate, that's pretty obvious.
That means you owe somebody.
Well, I had that part.
They're obligated. What it means is,
I had the first word. I was good on that one.
Basically, it's they have to deal with variable temperatures.
Why couldn't you say that?
Well, I can see it now because I googled.
You've been hanging out with that Harvey guy too much. Just know that whenever you are questioning our intelligence on fish, we know words like this.
Yes.
And by we, we're going to text Scott and be like, what was that word? I'm about to post it.
Is there a J or an apostrophe in there? Chef Gonzo says, I don't know.
Some silent letters in that word.
There's going to be a pop quiz next week. What is an obligate poikilotherm? See there? It's educational. But
I try to make y'all smarter. I mean, it's an uphill grind, but I try.
Here's the thing.
That didn't help.
With my background, I didn't know what that word really. I've never heard that term, but in my mind, I was doing exactly what Dean was. I was piecing it together like in a spelling bee. Okay, that's got to be a Latin root for poi kilo. Oh, I know what therm means, and I was trying to put it all together.
So what's poi a Latin root for?
I don't know. I was trying to figure it out.
Poi kilo.
Hey, and also, based on your background, you know good water when you run over.
I'm like, hey, how about that right there?
You know good water whenever the dude driving the boat passes it by.
That stuff right, there.
All right, I'm gonna quiz you out there. Here's your pop quiz. Mm-hmm. What did I say a while ago about their metabolism doubling at what temperature?
18 degrees
Celsius.
But that only works once or twice. Because you put another 18 on it, they ain't eating crap.
I like the way he gave it to us in two scales. He gave it Fahrenheit and Celsius for our Canadian listeners.
But I went straight to freedom units.
Oh, here's a question from the class for you, Scott. Do you know what et costal means?
What days? What
do you all know what et costal means?
Et costal.
Yeah, start googling.
I'll know that one.
Et beer means and wife, I'm pretty sure.
Scott isn't a marine biologist, but he plays one on the podcast.
Whisper the answer. One just walked by right here.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
No cheating.
That is.
He was whispering in his ear. Now we know what happened.
No, he was over here snoring. I was surprised I couldn't hear him. Honestly, he was over there snoring. That's why I muted my mic for a second to say, "Hey, Bill."
Et coastal. He misspelled it. I thought it was a Latin term. No, we don't know that. But all right, so
you got it.
Here we are googling what the hell is et coastal.
Our viewers need to be better. They just need to do better than that. So
Hawaiian grits. Poi means Hawaiian grits, and his name is Chef. He knows.
But that's a different spelling. That's P-O-Y.
Well, whatever.
Yeah. Oh well. All right. Hey man. That just flew by right there. What's happening in your worlds? First of all, then we're going to get to what would Scott do? What would Caleb do? What would Dean do? We got more topics that are already in the bag for next week. So closing thoughts, Dean, what's going on in your world? And then we'll get to the fishing and what people should do this week.
I just want to add that I learned that costal pertains to the ribs or the upper sides of the body. I've learned this show has been quite educational today. I learned to not run over green water. And I'm going to have to practice the spelling on that other word that Scott taught me.
That's right.
And then this other one is the ribs. So
the rib. Hey, and real quick, I should have mentioned.
I don't remember the original question.
I should have mentioned this earlier. Then I'm gonna get to Caleb next, and then Scott, see what's going on in your worlds, dude. I've used the shootout here and there and some light winds. Like I said, we were going 30 sustained, and I put 3 of them out there, dude. They're really awesome.
And if you don't, the shootout, if you want to, when you pull them in, just in general, the amount of effort that it takes to pull it back to the boat compared to the other. And yes, we have worked those things out in the last couple of weeks. Where I used to drag 4 of the other style and wish it would slow my boat down. 3 of the shootouts,
they were
30-mile-an-hour wind.
I'll give the testimonial, man. Jan and I went out Saturday afternoon after we fished in the morning, and it was really blowing. And we were, it was really good. Caleb, what were you going to add? What's going on in your world?
I was going to throw in there that young Texas angler that said he's 13. It's pretty stinking gangster that as soon as he gets out of school, he turns the show on.
That's true.
However, probably don't listen to it on speaker if you're on the school bus. Because I got detention for pretty much everything I've said on this show whenever I was a young man.
That's sound advice. See, we're here for the kids too. Yeah,
Angler, Texas Angler, shoot me a message on social media. I don't care how you do it. Cap Caleb TV, Caleb McCumber, however you want to do it. Shoot me a message. I'm going to give you a free membership to Angler U if you don't already have one, by the way.
There you go. And his name is Caleb as well.
Yep.
Scott, anything happening?
Man, I'm wrapping up this photo contest here pretty soon. That's why I'm dressed in camo today, as I was out trying to call in coyotes and foxes and bobcats and cool stuff to take pictures of. And I managed to call in a kitty cat.
A literal kitty cat.
Yes, a black and white kitty cat.
You're good, man. You're good.
The deer came to the squealing rabbit. I don't know what the deal was, but they came over there and checked it out. They were very intrigued. And I already got pictures of deer. I don't need more pictures. I would venture to say
that you weren't calling correctly if you're calling in the deer, bud.
I mean, it was a dying rabbit.
You should put a can of cat food and see if the coyote comes to it.
All right, Dean. What should our lovely listeners do? I looked at Thursday, I looked at Friday, I'm on Saturday now. And hey, look at that. We got some wind. Actually, a north wind, 20 gusting to 28 on my app anyway.
The next couple of days are great, man. I mean, I'm not going too far out on a limb. I'm just happy that I get the next 3 days with
Wednesday's tomorrow's good. Tomorrow's good.
Tomorrow's good. Thursday's decent and Friday ain't bad.
Yeah.
Y'all notice that Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's blowing like hell out of the straight north?
Yeah, the north. That's what I said. Yeah.
What the
straight
hell?
North. 20 to 28 is what I'm looking at on Saturday.
Yeah. So much for Caleb's pattern of consistent wind.
I'm gonna have myself parked against a grass line with a drain after that north wind pushes on a little bit. They're gonna be redfish this big. And I really hope so, because I have a trip booked on Monday, and I really hope I'm not going to let this guy down, but it looks pretty good to me on paper.
Well, there you go. That's a good, what would Caleb do? You didn't even know you were doing it.
Well,
right there, after the north wind.
Yeah, no, Monday's like single digit winds, and it's pumping out of the northwest for 3 days at over 20. I think there'll be some fish pulled up against them their drains, having a good old time. I'm gonna poi that ass.
Anything to add, Scott or Caleb, Dean, on what you would do this weekend?
We got good high tide, though. I mean, we got super high tide, which is going to let me get into a lot of areas that I really like to fish. That lets me get away from a lot of the other boat traffic. A lot of people don't venture back into those little nooks and crannies as much as the open bay. So, I mean, I love it. Higher the better.
Looks like we're going to have a lot of tide movement because, we got a full moon coming up. That's always a good indication of big tides. Then we got that south wind pumping all week, and then the north wind pumping all weekend. The water's going to be moving one way or another. So plan your day around working that moving water.
Okay. All right. So how many words before we get out of here that we say did young Texas Angler already know? I'm guessing all of them, right? 13.
If he truly fishes, yeah.
If he really fishes, he knows.
If he really fishes,
he could teach us words.
Yeah, he probably could. So, all right, boys.
So Cade made the golf team, and the coach allegedly pulled him and another kid aside and said, "Y'all are effing golfers." Like that's what he told them. And so the kid went and told his dad, and Cade's so damn low key. I didn't even know he made the golf team. He just hanging. And the other dad calls me, and he's like, "Put Cade on speakerphone." And and so
you got nervous.
The dad says, "Cade, what'd that coach tell y'all?" And Cade's kind of quiet, and he said, "Cade, you won't get in trouble with your parents." And I put it together right then, and I thought to myself, he thinks that Cade don't say that all the time. That kid plays Call of Duty. He learned these words at 8 years old.
That's right. How cute. He thinks he didn't know that word. All right, boys. Fantastic episode. 2 big announcements. Great fishing tips. Man, I can't ask for anything more. So stay tuned on some of the updates in terms of registration, first 200, some of the details on the whole event. We're going to have details on the we're getting a block of rooms even. I think, at least according to Carrie Dean, we might be getting a block of rooms for that weekend. So always trying to upgrade, always trying to do good for our listeners. Caleb, you look like you wanted to say something.
Oh, no, Dean is on Angler U tonight.
Oh, good.
And over on Angler U, we say things like fish rely on temperature.
You can't get that just anywhere.
No.
You can't get that just anywhere. That's the stuff we do. Hey, you
I
guys
bet
are awesome.
kilotherm comes up though.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to come up. It's going to probably be in the description of the podcast.
Stay out of my comments.
Obligate poikilotherm. It's happening. It's happening. All right, guys. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate everybody joining us here live. And if you've downloaded the podcast, we appreciate you as well. Don't forget to subscribe. You guys have a great. It looks like it might be some windows there, according to the boys. So go out and catch them up. We'll talk to you next time.
Hey, what's French for Caleb just put that sucker in the bucket?